There is a child somewhere in your life, maybe sitting across from you right now, who feels things more deeply than you realize. They notice when you're sad before you say a word. They stop mid-play to check on a friend who just got hurt. They lie awake some nights, not because they're scared of the dark, but because they're quietly carrying something they don't yet have words for. And here's what most parents don't know. That child, they might be one of the most emotionally intelligent people in your home. Today, we're going to explore 7 signs that your child has a level of emotional intelligence that most adults spend decades trying to develop. But more than that, we're going to help you understand what's happening inside them. Because emotionally intelligent children are often the most misunderstood children in the room. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind where everything was already running late. Sarah had been on the phone with her sister the night before. A difficult conversation, one of those that doesn't really end, it just pauses, and she'd gone to bed carrying it. She thought she'd hidden it well. Then Liam came downstairs, looked at her, and said quietly, "Mom, are you okay?" Not, "What's for breakfast?" Not, "Can I watch a show?" Just, "Are you okay?" Sarah laughed it off. "Of course, baby, I'm fine." But Liam kept looking at her. And then, very carefully, he said, "You look like how I feel when I miss someone." 7 years old. He had just described grief in a way that most adults couldn't put into words, without ever being taught what grief was. That moment, that wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't luck. That was emotional intelligence. And it doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Emotionally intelligent children aren't always the ones who never cry. They're not always the calmest or the most obedient or the easiest to manage. Sometimes, they're the ones who feel everything deeply. The ones who pick up on things you thought you were hiding. The ones who seem to carry the emotional weight of a room without being asked to. And today, we're going to walk through 7 signs that your child is carrying a rare and beautiful gift, even if it sometimes looks like sensitivity or difficulty or something you're not sure what to do with. They notice how others feel. They can read the room. The birthday party had been going for 40 minutes. Every child was running, laughing, shouting, the beautiful chaos of 7-year-olds and too much sugar. But Liam wasn't running. He was standing near the snack table, watching a boy named Marcus, who was pressed against the wall, arms crossed, looking at the floor. Sarah noticed Liam noticing. She watched him walk over. She couldn't hear what he said, but she watched Marcus slowly uncross his arms. And a few minutes later, they were sitting together on the floor near the window, looking at something on Liam's hand, a small toy he'd pulled from his pocket, sharing it, quietly. This is one of the first and most profound signs of emotional intelligence in children. The ability to notice how others feel, not because someone told them to, not because they were taught a rule, but because something inside them just picks it up. Child psychologists call this empathic accuracy, the ability to read the emotional state of another person with precision. Most adults struggle to do this reliably. Many emotionally intelligent children do it instinctively. But here's what's important to understand. This sensitivity doesn't mean they're fragile. It means they're wired to feel the world more fully than others. In homes where children are listened to, where their own emotions have been named, acknowledged, taken seriously, this sensitivity develops into something extraordinary. They learn to feel their own experience, and then, naturally, they can feel yours. Think about your own child for a moment. Have they ever come to you when you were sad, even when you hadn't said a word? Have they ever stopped playing to check on a sibling who fell? Have they ever picked up on tension in the room that even the adults were pretending wasn't there? That's not nosiness. That's not manipulation. That's a child who has developed an emotional antenna, one that is working exactly the way it's supposed to. The risk, though, and this is where parents need to pay close attention, is that highly empathic children can also absorb the emotions of the people around them. They can carry other people's sadness, other people's anxiety, other people's unspoken tension, and not know how to put it down. So if your child seems to take on your stress when you're having a hard week, that's not them being dramatic. That's them being emotionally tuned in. And they need you to help them understand. It's okay to notice how others feel without carrying it.
Sign 2. They express their emotions with words. Dinner had been quiet. Sarah kept glancing at Liam. He wasn't sad. Not exactly. Just somewhere else. Finally, she asked, "Hey, what's going on in that head of yours?" And Liam looked up and said, "I feel like when you blow out a candle. Like I was bright, and then something just went out." 7 years old. Describing emotional deflation, the specific experience of losing motivation or enthusiasm, in a metaphor so precise, it would make a poet pause. Most children, and many adults, when asked how they're feeling, say one of 3 things: good, bad, or fine. But emotionally intelligent children have learned to navigate the rich landscape of inner experience. They don't just feel sad. They feel the kind of sad that's different from lonely or disappointed or scared. And somehow, they find ways to describe it. This is called emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between different emotional states with precision and nuance. And research has found something fascinating. People with higher emotional granularity are not only better at understanding themselves, they're also healthier. They make better decisions under pressure. They recover from difficult experiences more quickly. Because when you can name what you feel, you can work with it. When you can't name it, it just runs. Children who grow up in families where feelings are named, where a parent says, "It sounds like you're feeling left out," instead of just "stop crying," they develop this internal vocabulary early, and it becomes one of the most powerful tools they'll carry through their entire lives. So if your child ever comes to you with something like, "I feel like everyone forgot I was there," or "I'm not sad, I'm the kind of sad where you feel hollow," don't brush past that. Sit in it with them. Reflect it back. "That sounds really hard. Tell me more." Because a child who has learned that their inner world is worth exploring will never stop exploring it. And that is one of the greatest gifts emotional intelligence gives. Sign 3. They recover from big emotions. Here is a sign that surprises most parents, because it doesn't look like what they expect. An emotionally intelligent child still has big emotions. They still cry, they still get overwhelmed, they still sometimes fall apart in the cereal aisle, or slam their door, or say something they immediately regret. The sign isn't that they don't feel things intensely. The sign is that they come back. Liam had melted down completely the afternoon his baseball team lost. Full tears, angry words he didn't mean, 20 minutes of inconsolable upset. Sarah had learned, slowly and with difficulty, to give him space in those moments. Not to fix it, not to reason with it, just to be near without making it worse. And then, maybe 40 minutes after the storm began, Liam had come to find her. He'd said, "I'm sorry I said that. I was just so mad that I felt like I was going to explode and I didn't know where to put it." And then, after a pause, "Can we talk about what happened?" That is emotional regulation. Not the absence of the storm, but the ability to move through it and return to connection. Child psychologists describe this as the difference between being dysregulated and having dysregulation. All children get overwhelmed. Their emotional systems are still developing, still learning how to process intensity. But emotionally intelligent children have been given or have learned the tools to find their way back. And critically, they don't hold on to it. They don't let the shame of the meltdown add to the original pain. They process it, acknowledge it, and move forward. If your child has big emotions, but also has the ability to eventually calm down, reflect, repair, that's not a problem child. That's a child building one of the most important emotional muscles a human being can develop.
Sign 4. They think about other people's perspectives. There's a moment that child psychologists find remarkable, and parents often miss it because it happens so quickly. It's the moment a child pauses in the middle of an argument and says something like, "Well, maybe he didn't know it was mine." Or, "I think she was just scared. That's why she acted like that." Or, "Maybe they weren't trying to be mean. Maybe they were having a really bad day." This is perspective taking. And in a 7-year-old, it is remarkable. Most young children exist in the center of their own universe. Developmentally, that's completely appropriate. The ability to genuinely consider that another person has their own internal world, their own fears, their own reasons for behaving the way they do, that's a capacity that develops over time. And in many people, it never fully develops at all.
But children with emotional intelligence begin developing it early. They start to understand that behavior has causes, that a friend who pushes isn't necessarily a bad person, they might be a scared one. That a parent who snaps isn't necessarily angry at them, they might be carrying something the child can't see. This is profound, because a child who can hold multiple perspectives at once is a child who will grow into an adult who can navigate conflict, sustain relationships, and lead with empathy. Watch for this in your child. When something difficult happens, a friendship conflict, a misunderstanding, a moment of frustration, do they ever wonder aloud what the other person might have been feeling? Do they sometimes defend someone who hurt them, not out of weakness, but out of understanding? That instinct toward understanding, even when they're the one who was hurt, is one of the rarest signs of emotional maturity.
Sign 5. They ask deep questions. Every parent of an emotionally intelligent child knows the bedtime conversations, the ones that are supposed to last 5 minutes and end 45 minutes later, with you sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark, slightly stunned by what your child just said. Sarah had one of these on a Wednesday night in October. She'd kissed Liam's forehead, reached for the lamp, and then he'd said, "Mom, do you think feelings have colors?" She'd paused. "What do you mean?" "Like, anger feels red, but missing someone feels more like gray-blue, and being really happy feels like orange. Do you think everyone sees feelings the same color or different?" Children who are emotionally intelligent are profoundly curious about the inner world. Not just facts about the outside world, but questions about emotion, meaning, belonging, connection. They ask things like, why do some people cry when they're happy? Or what does loneliness actually feel like for you? Or do you think animals get embarrassed? These questions might seem random. They are not random. They are a child mapping the emotional landscape of the human experience. They are doing the inner work that most adults avoid, trying to understand what feelings are, how they work, and why we have them. And here's what matters most. When your child asks one of these questions, resist the urge to give a quick, clean answer. Sit with it. Wonder alongside them. Say, "That's such an interesting thought. What color do you think it is for you?" Because the question is not the point. The wondering is the point. And a child who wonders about feelings will grow into a person who understands them. Sign 6. They feel comfortable with discomfort. This sign is subtle, but it might be the most powerful one on this list. Most people, children and adults, have one instinctive response to painful emotions: escape, distract, numb, move fast enough that the feeling can't catch up.
But emotionally intelligent children, at some point, and often without being explicitly taught, learn to stay. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they've developed a quiet trust that hard feelings are survivable. That they can sit in the middle of something uncomfortable and come out the other side. After Liam didn't get the part in the school play he'd wanted, he didn't throw a fit. He didn't pretend it didn't matter. He went to his room. He was quiet for a long time. When Sarah knocked and came in, he was sitting on the floor with a piece of paper, drawing something. She sat with him, didn't say anything for a while.
Eventually, he said, "I'm sad, but I think I just needed to feel it for a little bit." Children who are comfortable sitting with discomfort are children who will not grow into adults who rely on unhealthy patterns to escape pain. They won't need to numb what they feel, because they've already learned that feelings are not enemies, they are messengers. This capacity, what psychologists call distress tolerance, is one of the most protective qualities a person can develop. It is built in small moments. Moments when a child is upset and a parent resists the urge to immediately fix it, and instead sits with them in it. If your child has ever said, "I just need a minute," and actually taken that minute and come back calmer on the other side, that is not stubbornness. That is wisdom. Sign 7. They know how to repair. Of all the signs on this list, this one might be the rarest, because it requires something that even many adults haven't learned to do. It requires the willingness to come back after a rupture, to repair what broke, to say, without being forced, "I'm sorry, and here's what I understand now." Liam had said something cruel to Sarah once during a bad argument, the kind of thing children say when they're overwhelmed and don't know what to do with the size of what they're feeling. Sarah had walked away, given them both space. 20 minutes later, Liam appeared in the kitchen doorway. He didn't say sorry the way children often do, quickly, looking at the floor because they've been told they have to. He said, "Mom, I said something that wasn't true, and I said it to hurt you because I was hurting, and that wasn't right. I'm really sorry." That is repair, real repair. Not just sorry as a transaction, but a genuine attempt to understand, acknowledge, and reconnect. John Gottman, one of the world's leading researchers on relationships, found something important in his decades of studying families. It's not the absence of conflict that makes a relationship healthy. It's the ability to repair after conflict, to come back, to reach toward each other again. And children who learn to repair, who learn that connection can be damaged and rebuilt, grow up understanding something most people take decades to figure out. Relationships are not ruined by hard moments. They are deepened by the willingness to come back from them. If your child, after a difficult moment, finds their way back to you and tries to make it right, hold that, honor it, because they are learning one of the most important relational skills a human being can possess. Tools for parents. Recognizing emotional intelligence in your child is one thing. Nurturing it, that's the work. Here are 3 things you can start doing tonight. Not complicated, not requiring a degree in psychology. Just small, human, powerful shifts. Tool 1. Name what you see. When your child is emotional, resist the instinct to fix or minimize. Instead, reflect back what you see. Say, "It looks like you're really disappointed right now. That makes sense." Or, "I can see something is bothering you. I'm right here when you're ready." Why this works? When a child hears their experience named accurately, something releases. They stop fighting to be understood and start actually processing the feeling. The named emotion becomes workable. The unnamed one stays trapped. This is called emotional validation, and it doesn't mean agreeing with their behavior. It means acknowledging that what they feel is real. Tool 2. expand their emotional vocabulary. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" try, "What was the best feeling you had today? What was the hardest one?" Instead of saying, "Don't be sad," try, "That kind of sad makes sense. What does sad feel like in your body right now?" You are teaching them to navigate their inner world with precision. Every new emotion word they learn, frustrated, deflated, overwhelmed, relieved, proud, anxious, is a tool they'll carry for life. A child who can name what they feel will rarely be controlled by it. Tool 3, repair out loud. When you get something wrong as a parent, when you snap or overreact or say something you immediately regret, repair it out loud in front of them. "I'm sorry I raised my voice earlier. You didn't deserve that. I was frustrated and I didn't handle it well." This does two things. First, it repairs the relationship. Second, and this is the part most parents miss, it models for your child what repair looks like. It shows them that rupture is not permanent, that even when you get it wrong, coming back is always possible. You are not just apologizing. You are teaching. Somewhere, there is a child who feels things so deeply that people call it too sensitive. A child who asks questions that no one knows how to answer, who cries at things that seem small, who comes back after arguments to say, "I'm sorry," before anyone asks them to. And the world sometimes looks at that child and sees a problem. But you, having watched this today, you see something different now. You see a child who is feeling the world fully, who is building in their small chest and their growing mind the capacity for empathy, for connection, for repair, for depth. You see a child who will grow into an adult who knows how to love, how to listen, how to stay in the room when things get hard. That child doesn't need to be fixed. They need to be understood. And the most extraordinary thing, the fact that you're here, watching this, wondering, wanting to understand, means you are already giving them the most important thing: a parent who is paying attention. A child's emotional world is always speaking. The question is never whether it's there. The question is whether someone is listening. If something in this video stopped you, if you saw your child in one of these signs, or maybe remembered yourself, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Which sign resonated most with you? Was there a moment that made you think, "That's exactly what's been happening"? Share it below. Because the parents in this community learn from each other just as much as they learn from research. And if this video felt like something a parent you know needs to see, please share it with them. The more parents who understand what emotional intelligence actually looks like in children, the safer children feel to be exactly who they are. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.